then we can say, hey, look, is this my peak performance like feeling? Is this how I want to feel? Is this when I'm at my best? And if it is, awesome. And if not, what can I do? What can I tweak to get there? Hey, welcome back. It is chapter 4 of Heads Up Baseball, and we are using it as a guide to life. So if you have strapped in for the first 3 chapters, you are continuing on this journey with me. I hope you have, and I hope you've gone over to the website to sign up for the email newsletter so that you can get my notes for this book and compare them with your own notes for this book as you go through. Because there's a lot more in my notes than I can cover here in a video. Again, I try and keep these videos commute time-ish. So we're looking for 15 to 20 minute long videos, something that you can do quickly and easily, and you can listen to like a podcast almost. You don't have to watch the video. It's nice though. I appreciate you watching, and I'm glad that you're here. If you're on YouTube and you're watching on a TV or something, or on your phone or whatever, you're actually watching, thank you so much. I love it. And please like, share, comment, subscribe, all those great things that us YouTubers like. But most importantly, lock in and learn something and teach something too, right? That's kind of the whole point of this idea. We are trying to gather all the people, the like-minded people like you and like me who chase success. It's one of my slogans around here. We chase success. So chase success with me, right? By going through this book chapter at a time, and future books as well. So playing the game one pitch at a time, that is what chapter 4 is all about, okay? And that is really what the book is all about on a grand scale, and they even put it on the cover, as I mentioned in one of the previous videos. Playing the game one pitch at a time, that's our goal. So in baseball, that means that you clear out whatever might have happened in a previous at bat or on a previous pitch even, and you focus on this pitch right now, because that is all that you can control, right? That is all that you have the ability to influence, is just what's going on now. So playing one pitch at a time has a lot to do with being present, being where your feet are. That was the chapter 1 focus in the book. And then chapter 2 is about going on a mission, because we lock in and we focus on that mission, right? And then being under control and learning how to control ourselves was chapter 3. And now here we are in chapter 4 to talk about playing the game one pitch at a time. What does that mean? Well, it means having total focus on that one pitch. And if we're talking about life, we're talking about having total focus on that one moment, or that one task, or that one goal, or whatever it happens to be that is the most important thing at that moment. In a baseball game, it's always the current pitch, all right? That's a pretty standard thing. Baseball is played under a certain series of rules that make it so that each pitch is what you need to focus on, right? In life, it can be a little trickier than that, right? There are things that we need to focus on all over the place, and it can be overwhelming. And so again, this is one of the reasons we talked last chapter about your circle of concern versus your circle of control. Your circle of concern is way out here, and your circle of control is in here, right? There is very little that you can actually control, and there's a lot out there that is your concern, but you have no control over whatsoever. And I gave some examples in the last video. You can go check that out if you missed it. But let's get into playing the game one pitch at a time. So total focus. That means not only are you focused on the moment and being present, but it also means that you are able to recognize through self-awareness where you are at, right? And what I mean by that is we kind of talked about this in one of the previous videos actually, but not in depth like this. You need to understand yourself. Okay, you need to know about yourself. And one of the first exercises in this book was to go through and make a list of the things that you think and feel when you're playing really well and when you're not playing very well. Okay, and that's something that we can apply to life, and hopefully you've done that exercise. So recognizing those things is important because when you are in a game or when you are in a situation in the real world, whether that be a business situation, a relationship, some sort of pressing matter, whatever it may be, your focus has to be in that moment. And if things are throwing you off and if you're distracted, you need to be able to recognize that so you can pull yourself back in, right? That's the goal. So in the book, they have a system that they outline, which is a red light, yellow light, green light system. I find it very useful. I found it very useful as a competitive chess player when I was playing chess competitively. I find it very useful in my day-to-day life in a lot of challenges, a lot of things that we do that are maybe beyond our comfort zone, let's say, so to speak. So, this red light, yellow light, green light thing really helps in terms of being able to ascertain where I'm at, right? To figure out where I'm at as opposed to where I need to be, okay? And of course, the need to be would be those things that are when you're playing at your best or when you are at your best in life. What are those characteristics and what are those things that make up that version of you, right? And so those would be green light behaviors, okay, or green light circumstances in the book. And when you have, that's what you want, obviously. You want a green light. Green means go, right? It's just like in traffic. You got red light, yellow light, and green light. Green means go. All systems go. You are ready, right? When you're in the green. And that's what I call it to myself. When I talk to myself a lot, I'm sure many of you do as well. I mean out loud. I don't mean just kind of like my internal monologue that's going, which some people call an internal dialogue, but it's not because it's just you. So it's a monologue. But my internal monologue, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about I talk to myself out loud a lot. And it's okay if people think I'm weird. It does not bother me whatsoever. So one of the things that I shoot for, or that I strive for, is to be in the green. Right? And that's something I'll tell myself. I'm in the green. I'm in the green. I'm in the green. Right? That gets me going. That gets me ready if I'm actually in the green. That's the only time I say it to myself. You don't want to reinforce things that aren't useful for you by being in the yellow, for instance, and trying to tell yourself you're in the green. That is not how I use this technique. It's only when I'm in the green. Thankfully, I'm in the green quite a bit. One of the reasons why is because I know what it means to be in the green. Right? I know those things. I know what they are. Those things that light me up and that get me excited and that give me energy and that have me in production mode, right? And have me able to achieve and able to produce. I know those things because I have learned those things about myself. And again, that was chapter 1 of the book when we talked about that. So total focus means that you've got to be able to understand where you're at. And if you are red light central, then you need to realize and take a step back, breathe, take some time to think, right? Maybe just a minute or two, maybe 5 minutes, depending on the situation that you're in. Maybe you don't have that kind of time. And maybe you need to just get better at not getting into the red in the first place. But the red light type of stuff would be the stuff that's on that other column of the worst performance, right, that we went through in video number 1, chapter 1. And so all those things like, you feel like you're on tilt, right? Those things that make you feel like you're on tilt are the things that are red light behaviors or red light situations or circumstances. And then yellow is kind of in the middle. Okay, so yellow, you're not quite green, but you're kind of leaning toward maybe a little bit of red in some way, and you're sort of in between, right? And that's a reality, right, is yellow lights too. So in the book, they have you go through, and again, more self-awareness, which is a large part of success, right? I mean, let's be honest. If you are a successful person, chances are you're very self-aware. That's how you get there, right? That's how you get to the level of success that you're at, is by realizing what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and how to make them work in conjunction with each other so that you can get where you need to go, right? And turning your weaknesses into strengths, that's another big one. But you have to recognize one from the other first, right? And so that's where the self-awareness comes in. So, go through And again, the exercise actually is in my notes, and it's in the book. If you've bought the book and use my link to go buy the book, it's well worth it. It's one of the best books I've ever invested in. I don't know if it's on Audible. I don't think so. I think it's just a written book. But go to Amazon, use my link, and go get the book if you don't have it already. If you do, then you know what I'm talking about with these diagrams where they have the red light and the yellow light and the green light. And then they put you through an exercise where you detail, just like in the first chapter where you detailed your best performance and your worst performance. Now they want you to kind of go through and let's talk about a more typical kind of performance, like when you're out there day after day after day, and we're not talking about your best performance ever or your worst performance ever, but we're talking about your typical performance. When you're playing well, maybe not out of your head, but when you're playing well, what is it that you're doing? Okay, what kinds of physical routines are you going through? What kinds of mental routines are you going through? What kinds of things are you saying to yourself? How do you feel inside? That's something that, may be difficult to put words to for some of us, but that's okay. You don't need to. You just need to understand it. Okay, understand how you feel when you're at the top of your game, right? Now, by contrast, take a look at what would be considered like a yellow light. So you're feeling good. Okay, you're not, but you got more. You're not at 100%. Maybe you're performing, maybe you're at 80% instead of 100%. Okay, well, so how does that feel to you? What is 80% to you? How do you feel when you're at 80% compared to when you're at 100, right? And when you're green light, green light, green light, take a step back from that and go, all right, when I'm not quite there, I'm kind of close. I'm not on tilt. I'm not way off track, but I could use a couple little tweaks to get a little bit better, right? That's what yellow light is all about. And so yellow light is something where when you recognize that you've got a yellow light, the recommendation in the book is to, step out. If you're the batter, step out of the batter's box, which nowadays with the pitch clock, I don't even know if you can do that anymore. The book was written years ago. But, and those of you who are baseball fans understand that. And if you're not a baseball fan, then I feel bad for you, but that's okay. That's a whole other topic. Baseball is the greatest sport in the world. But anyway, I do love, though, it's not a coincidence, the fact that this book, Heads Up Baseball, can be applied to life. Once I figured that out, as soon as I read it the very first time, I figured that out. And then the second time through, I read it almost immediately again, and I started taking notes with an eye toward this kind of thing, toward how can I use this in my life, right? How can I improve my life with this, not just my baseball skills? Because I had stopped playing ball long before I ever read this book and long before it ever came out. But the point here that I'm getting at is with the yellow lights, let's get back on track here. Yellow lights are those things that they could hold you back, but they're not super noticeable, right? They're not the kind of thing, they're not so obvious as I woke up with 105 fever, right? God forbid. Okay, let's make it more normal. I woke up with 101 fever, all right? 105, whoo. I don't know where that number came from. That would put you in the hospital, most people. But 101 fever, you wake up with 101 fever and a stuffy head and you can barely talk. Clearly you're not at 100%. Clearly you're probably not in the yellow zone either. You're probably in the red zone at that point. You're probably at a red light, right? That's a very obvious sort of thing. The yellow zone is less obvious than that. It's, you aren't in the greatest mood today for some reason you don't know. You can't figure it out. There's no reason that you should have woken up on the wrong side of the bed, as they say, but you did. Now you got to deal with it. The quicker you know that and the quicker you understand, then the quicker you can lock yourself back in toward getting to green. I hope that makes sense. Once you recognize that you've got a yellow light, or once you recognize that you've got a red light especially, you need to pump the brakes or slam the brakes, whichever might apply, and you need to come back to green. You need to get back to the best you that you can be in that moment. And maybe it can't be 100%. Maybe you can't get straight to green. Maybe you're in yellow and you're kind of stuck between yellow and green. But because you're aware you're stuck between yellow and green instead of stuck between yellow and red, or maybe not even stuck, but sliding down quickly from yellow to red, right? So when we're aware, when we have self-awareness and when we are aware of what's going on in ourselves, right, and how we feel, then we can say, hey, look, is this my peak performance like feeling? Is this how I want to feel? Is this when I'm at my best? And if it is, awesome. And if not, what can I do? What can I tweak to get there? So again, the whole project of chapter 4 is not something I'm going to dive into here in this video. These videos are kind of summary-ish, right? They're sort of meant to get the wheels turning and give you something useful that you can use in your life. And hopefully you come back to me with some comments about things, ways you're using this in your life, or other things that this reminds you of that you use. And so you can type about that and I can read it and I can learn, right? Like that's the kind of thing we're going for here. So community-wise, it's a really big deal to comment down there and let people know this is what's working for me and what's working for you, ask questions, all that kind of stuff, okay? But, for me, this red light, yellow light, green light system really works. And it works in a lot of different ways in my life and a lot of different aspects of life. And when I feel myself kind of spinning out of control and getting upset about something, I know that I'm going that way. I know that I'm leaning toward going on tilt. And so I got to do something to pull that back toward the green, right? And so really what it comes down to when you talk about playing one pitch at a time is you need to check in with yourself routinely, right? Or when you're talking about in life, being present and living one moment at a time or taking on one task at a time, whatever it may be, this whole system of red light, green light, yellow light, whatever system you want to use, you might want to check in on a 1 to 5 scale or something like that. Like, where am I right now? Check in with yourself. Check in with yourself regularly, and especially check in with yourself when you feel like things are kind of not exactly how you want them to be, right? Because that awareness is going to allow you to make some changes. Look, the key to winning, the key to success, the key to achievement is that you have to trust yourself, right? You have to trust yourself to get there. You have to have faith in your ability. You have to have trust and confidence that you can get it done. And where that comes from is self-awareness. Where that confidence comes from and that trust comes from is slowing down and having control, right? Bringing in some self-control and then creating a plan. And then when you go to execute that plan, you need to trust that that is the right plan. And even if it's the wrong plan, you need to trust that it's the right plan. You'll find out. You'll get the result, and it won't be the result you want, but hey, it's just a result. Now you go at it again a second time, or a fifth time, or however many times you had to, knowing what you know, making the adjustments. We talked about that, right? We're not here for perfection. We're here to make adjustments along the way and eventually win, right? And so making those adjustments and figuring out how to get where you want to go, that's very important. But in order to do it in the first place, you need to have faith in your plan and trust your plan. If you go at something with some kind of a plan that you're half-assing and you don't really trust yourself and you don't really think you can get this done, what are the likelihood, or what are the odds rather, what is the likelihood that you'll succeed in that task? If it's a relatively mundane task, you might anyway. You might have success. But if it's not, and if it's something that's important and a little complex and involves some different factors and things, you're going to be completely lost, okay? You've got to come at it with a plan, but you've also got to believe in that plan. Otherwise, you're not going to put in the effort. And maybe it was the right plan, but because you didn't believe in it and you didn't trust it, you won't know that that was the right plan. And it'll seem like the wrong plan because you won't get the result you wanted. Hope that makes sense. So trusting is a huge key to success and to winning and to achievement, right? You've got to trust the plan that you create, or the plan that is created for you. If you have a coach or something who says, here's our plan, let's do it. Or you have a boss who says, this is the plan, and you three are in charge of this department, now go. You've got to believe in that plan. You've got to have faith in that plan. Because if you don't, then you're going to wind up off the rails somewhere because your effort isn't there, right? You're going to wind up not getting the result that you want because you aren't putting forth 100% wholehearted effort because you don't believe that it's going to work, right? So you've got to control first. You've got to control yourself, right? Before you can control anything else, okay? Before you can control your performance or your actions, you've got to control yourself. Check in with yourself, all right? Recognize where you're at. Are you at red light? Are you at yellow light? Are you at green light? Okay? And if you are yellow or red, then bring it back, right? Bring it back to green. Get yourself into that peak performance state as often as you can. And the more that you do it by pulling yourself out deliberately and recognizing with these check-ins and your awareness and stuff, the more often you do it, the less you're going to have to think about it in the future. So you start to get into that rhythm and that habit of correcting yourself, where now it's just on autopilot. And it's rare that I ever have a yellow light or a red light. It doesn't happen very often for me because I have done this over the years, checked in with myself, made sure that I am in line to get the result that I want by being at the best possible performance level that I can be, which is a green light, right? So again, playing the game one pitch at a time, so chapter 4 was all about. It requires total focus. It requires you to check in and recognize when you're off track and pull yourself back. And above all, it requires you to be present in the moment and to have faith in your plan and to trust yourself and to trust your performance. And that is where, that is how we win. That is where success comes from, right? So that's it for chapter 4. Again, go get the book. Check out the website. That's www.yoursoulsource.com/resources, where I've got all the stuff you need to be able to sign up for the email list. And then I can give you my notes for this book as well as some other notes. You'll be up to date all the time on what's going on. And check in on this channel by subscribing, like this video, comment below, pass it on to other people who you know would like it. Maybe your boss would like to see this type of stuff. And maybe your company is one of those companies that you know that it can do more, and you know that if more people had the same attitude that you had, then the company could grow, faster or grow bigger or whatever it might be. I've been in that situation. I was in a working environment like that. Maybe that's you. Maybe you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, and you can take this to the next level by showing these videos to your team, right? I don't know. Whatever use you have for these videos, if you have use for them, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and I will see you next time in Chapter 5.
I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.